what's up? Hey, dude, what?
I'm trying not to laugh during your intro.
You did already.
Well, because you said what? I was keeping it cool.
Whatever, bro. You were giving me a look. You were like cutting your eyes at me.
I was shaking my head laughing.
Whatever, dude. You know, honestly, you probably just wanted to ruin my introduction, bro.
Oh, that's what he told me before we started.
It's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy, bro.
It's the Da Vinci conspiracy.
That's not the name of the movie.
It's a book.
Yo. We're doing Da Vinci Code. You know what's so funny? We're doing Da Vinci Code finally. I read this book like probably a year ago now because you were telling me like, bro.
Super good.
Yeah, like if you want a page turner that is extremely occult and esoteric, like read the Da Vinci Code. I think you were telling me for months, like, bro,
yeah,
you will love it. All this stuff. I don't remember exactly what the final like catalyst for me doing it was. Oh yeah, we've talked about it on the show. That's right.
Yeah,
we talked about it on the show forever ago, and then all of a sudden, I received 2 copies of it in the mail, like one from one person and then one from Casey's dad. And,
that's right.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, I guess I can read it now. And I read it, and you were not lying, my guy. That's like one of the most gripping books I've ever read.
Yeah, it's like, forget what it's even about. It's just the way that it's written is like every chapter ends when you're like, oh, I can't stop. Like, it ends on an action point.
Dude, totally.
Every time.
Even the way that the book starts, I was like, it got me immediately, dude. You know, and we're going to try not to like spoil too much if you guys still want to go out and watch it.
Or read it.
Oh, yeah.
Book is infinitely better.
Yeah, for sure. I would recommend like reading the book. I've been, like talked to a lot of people who have read the book and then also watched the movie. The general consensus like that I seem to be picking up on is that people that have read the book don't really fuck with the movie.
Yeah, the movie was, I mean, for all intents and purposes, it was kind of like a critical flop. Like, it's just not a really good
It didn't perform
movie.
well
No,
either?
it was rated like 25%. Like,
Ooh.
yeah, I mean, the book's virtually always going to be better.
Yeah.
But in this case, it really, you know.
Honestly, I didn't mind the movie. I didn't think it was like bad.
I put a lot of thought into it while I was watching it last night. And like, I feel like it's because, yeah, exactly. It's a good movie. Mm-hmm. Like, I literally just watched it last night for the first time watching it, through. And I was like, this is actually good. Like, I expected it to be terrible. I just think it's probably something to do with the fact that the majority of this book is like high level intellectual material.
Right, and that doesn't really translate.
It doesn't translate into
the film.
Exactly, yeah, because like a lot of the stuff that's like, dang, is like, it's knowledge, it's information.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of little gunfight type things, but it's really not the point of it.
No, I agree. Like all the parts of the book that made me get really, really hype were like them talking about some ancient civilization or some ancient, organization, whatever, where I'm like, whoa, they're talking about that. And they can't really show that in the movie.
In the movie, they do, but it's like the delivery is a little cheesy. Mm-hmm.
I honestly think this story is just the format that fits it best is a book. It's because everything's stretched out further. So they set up things, that you might not find out for a while because you're reading it and it takes longer, but in the movie it's like
a lot of chapters too.
10 minutes.
There's like 100+ chapters.
So yeah, this book is incredible, and essentially what it's about is there's this he's a symbologist, right?
Yeah, he's like a world-renowned professor of symbology.
Yeah, world-renowned professor.
Kind of starts off, he's like doing his book tour, signing and doing a conference thing.
Yeah, and he's just like in Europe, in Paris.
Yep.
And he's just doing his thing.
Worth noting too, it's a sequel.
Right. The first one is God, what's it called?
Angels and Demons, right?
Well, Angels and Demons is the sequel of this, isn't it?
I thought it was the other way around.
I don't know.
I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Right?
But
Yeah.
It's like
there are multiple. Actually, Dan Brown has written multiple novels with the same main character. What's his name?
Dan Brown.
No.
Robert Langdon.
Yeah, Robert Langdon. That's right. That's right. Yeah, Robert Langdon is in. I read another
Angels
one.
and Demons, Inferno. There's that one you read about DC
the Lost
Freemasonry.
Yeah, I forget what it was called. It was honestly pretty forgettable.
Yeah.
Angels and Demons is before Da Vinci Code.
And
okay, it's a prequel.
And that's about the Illuminati.
Yeah, Angels and Demons, Da Vinci Code, The Lost Symbol,
Inferno,
and then Origin.
I've only read Da Vinci Code and Lost Symbol. Lost Symbol is the sequel to this, and it was honestly pretty forgettable. I found that it kind of followed the exact same formula as Da Vinci Code, and when I realized that, it kind of lost a lot of its luster. But anyway, just to give you guys an idea of what I don't want to, because we're planning on really diving deep into kind of the occult stuff that's talked about in this book, why it was so controversial, like get into the nitty gritty of stuff like that. But I do think maybe we breeze by the plot real quick just so you know what's happening. I
think there's a few elements to this story. Forget it's being a book or a movie. It's a story, right?
Yeah.
And there's a few elements to it that make it so groundbreaking and so high level. In my opinion, it's like you have the first element of any story, which is the storytelling, right? So the storytelling is just superb. I mean, it's like I had to read this in I think it was freshman year of college, which was 12 years ago. And yeah, I wasn't thrilled about it, but I was like, whatever, had to do it for an assignment. And I found that every night when I had to read through like my assigned chapters to pace through, I ended up reading 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 more, and I couldn't stop. And I finished the book in like 2 days.
Yeah.
I just was addicted. It's such a well-paced story. It's the way the chapters are organized largely. Exactly.
Because some chapters, there are multiple chapters in there that are one page.
Yeah, and they end on it's like this. It's like, okay, someone rolls up, hops out to Suburban, he points the gun, and then it's like end. It's like, no, it can't end there.
Yeah.
Like you gotta keep going. It's always ending on an action point.
And they have multiple plot points going on at one time, all with action points that you're like patiently waiting for to see what happened next. So it honestly plays out a lot like One Piece. Like, there's like 3 fights going on, and they'll leave you at a cliffhanger for this one.
There's like multiple secret societies that are warring for like this information. So then that's the element number 2 that makes it so high level is aside from just like general storytelling, the material that's being worked with here is very profound, like occult information. Like actually, I was exposed to a lot of this stuff for the first time from this book.
Which is crazy. I mean, by the time I had read it, I had, we had already been doing this show, so I had known a good bit of it. But I think reading this book was the first time that it clicked with me that like, wait, there are tons of other highly intelligent people that know about this stuff and are even writing fiction about it. Like it kind of clicked with me that like, oh, this is more ubiquitous than I thought it was. This is more, whatever than I thought it was. But
so we decided on the phone yesterday that because the story itself is so good, but also because like the high level material is this like occult knowledge that exists outside of the story, like it's pulling from very real esoteric knowledge, most of which we have talked on the show. We're just gonna like hit those points. But I really feel like it should still be read, or, if you don't care to read books, it should still be watched, although you should understand it won't have the same impact.
Yeah, for sure.
But, we don't really want to, like, spoil the story too much. I think we just kind of wanted to hop into the stuff that it's... Like, we'll talk about the reveals, but still leave the story up to, like, you should experience how it plays out.
Absolutely.
Because it's a great story.
Yeah. And you tell me if I'm spoiling too much and if I need to dial back. But one of the things that really gripped me early in the book, this is one of the first things that happens, is the crime scene in the Louvre.
Yeah. It's worth saying, like, we're going to very generally spoil this story.
Yeah.
The point is we're not going to focus very hard on the story.
Right.
We're gonna breeze past it. That's what I'm trying to say. But
So basically, there's this the main character, Robert Langdon. He's
doing a seminar.
Yeah, he's doing a seminar, and somebody comes to his hotel room.
No. They come to him while he's signing books at the seminar.
Oh, that's right.
The police.
That's right. Yeah, and they roll up. Well, I think is that how it is in the movie?
The movie, yeah.
I think it's different in the book. I'm pretty sure they wake him up in the middle of the night.
Oh, okay.
Like,
yeah. See, I haven't read the book in 12
in a
years.
while, yeah.
I watched the movie last
I
night.
think-
Nick recently read the book, so we're kind of cross-referencing here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. They just like came up to his hotel room in the middle of the night. But anyway, yeah, he gets approached by the police, and they're like, "You're needed at the Louvre, like now." And he's like, "Huh? Like what? If you don't know, the Louvre is like one of the biggest, most appreciated art museums in the entire world.
It's where the Mona Lisa is.
Yeah, it's where
I saw the Mona Lisa there.
A lot of Da Vinci's work is there. You can go and see it. So anyway, they're like, "We need you at the Louvre." There's been I don't know if they told him immediately it was a murder.
In the movie, they did.
Okay.
They showed him a picture.
Right. Okay.
They're
They
like,
did that
we
in the
need
book.
you, and then so what's in the picture? What's on the
Right. It was a dead body. On the picture, it was a dead body, and on its like torso had been carved
Yeah, like with a blade.
a pentagram or a pentacle.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so Robert Langdon, being a professor of symbology, was like, what? And also, it's worth saying that the body was spread out in a Vitruvian Man stance.
Yeah.
Like, it looked like the body had been posed.
But he posed himself.
Exactly. And that's what interested Langdon. He saw that the body was posed, but then he also saw that the way that it was carved could only have been like done by him. And he was like, how did this guy, like, did this guy kill himself and pose himself? Like, this doesn't make sense. So he's like, okay, I guess I got to go check it out. What he doesn't know is they suspect that he did it.
Right.
Because he's this professor of, symbology, whatever. So yeah, that was the first thing that really grabbed me.
Well,
I was
there's
like,
another reveal there why you think the cops think that he did it.
which
Do
is
you
what?
remember? It's because the cop was part of Opus Dei.
Oh, of course,
and
right.
he got a
right.
call saying he did it. Get in there and get him to confess.
Right, exactly. There are multiple like shadow organizations working at play, or maybe not shadow organizations, but multiple organizations. You got Opus Dei, you have the Knights Templar,
Priory of Sion.
the Priory of Sion. Those are the three main, and the Priory of Sion and the Knights Templar are like
They're like connected.
yeah,
Yeah.
but they're like separate entities, which is crazy. I didn't know until I read the book and did research afterwards or whatever. Opus Dei is a real organization.
Technically, so is Priory of Sion.
Right.
But not as it exists in the movie.
Right.
I was going to go into that.
I wrote that down as well, that the Priory of Sion is like
It started in like 1956.
Yeah, it wasn't even really worth going into in this episode
Because in reality, it's Rosicrucians.
But, Opus Dei, while it is slightly exaggerated in the film and the book, it's actually a real thing, and they are kind of like scrutinized by the Catholic Church for the same reasons they are in the story, but they're just maybe not as extreme. Like the self-mutilation stuff, and it's kind of like a Catholic cult. It's like a culty sect of Catholicism,
just like in the Da Vinci Code.
Exactly. But it's represented way more extreme in the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah, they're like hunting down people with weapons.
Yeah.
Just assassinating people.
Yeah. So, okay, yeah, that's kind of your first hint in the story that like there's something very significant going on here, because when Langdon goes and inspects the body, he finds so many weird coincidences and weird synchronicities and symbols and all of this stuff around the body. He even finds, where did he find the message? There was a message written.
It was beside the body, but
Right.
it was like they needed like a black light, and there was a message that said something like, it said PS.
PS, right.
Postscript,
Right.
right? He like a message. PS. Find Robert Langdon.
Right.
But
Which is why they kind of like thought that Robert did it, because Robert Langdon is right beside it. Yeah.
Right.
They thought maybe the victim knew that it was him and wrote it down or whatever. But in reality, the guy whose body it was, Saunier, wasn't that his name? Saunier?
Saunier, I think.
Saunier. Yeah. I mean, he did it himself, and he wrote all this stuff down, and he wrote to find Robert Langdon because he knows that he's like the most genius symbology expert in the world.
But you find out that the PS also was a secret meaning. It was Princess Sophie.
Sophie.
He called his granddaughter Princess Sophie.
Right. So at this point in the movie, Sophie has already, or in the book, Sophie's already showed up, right?
Yeah, she's on the crime scene because I
Right.
guess she's like somehow in the police force.
She is.
So she
Yeah,
just
she's
kind
an
of like
investigator.
so she showed up on the scene and kind of like bluffed that she was involved.
Cryptology is what she does.
Cryptology.
You know, like codes and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that part.
So
Oh, that makes sense because
Right.
she was trying to crack the codex and stuff.
Exactly.
I missed that in the beginning of the movie.
She works on the force in the cryptology department, whatever. So she's there, and it's just getting crazy. It's not worth going too into right now as far as the plot goes, because I don't want to spoil anything.
Well, there's a lot of symbolism to discuss.
A lot.
Yeah.
So, first of all, the pentacle, and they talk about like the original origin, like the origin of the pinnacle, the true meaning of the pinnacle. By the way, this is just a little aside. Sophie, her name is it's the Greek word for knowledge or wisdom.
Well, it's also like the Gnostic Sophia, the goddess.
Exactly. Yeah, same exact thing. So this is a quote actually from the book.
This whole story is about. Oh shit! I lost my page. This whole story is about the existence of the goddess and the Divine Mother.
Yeah,
that's the beauty of it.
This is a quote from the book. Early religion was based on the divine order of nature. The goddess Venus and the planet Venus were one and the same. The goddess had a place in the nighttime sky and was known by many names: Venus, the Eastern Star, Ishtar, Astarte.
Yep.
All of them powerful female concepts with ties to nature and Mother Earth. Did you also know this? I never knew and really, really blew my mind. Did you know that like Venus and Earth, the way that they orbit one another, every I think 365 days, make a perfect pentagram?
No, I didn't know that.
It's the most insane thing I've ever seen. I looked it up. It's like that's just too weird. That's eerie. Like Venus, Venus is going all the way around Earth, and then it's making a star in the middle of the circle, like just
it's like what Plato or maybe it was Pythagoras said. It's the harmony of the spheres, man. Like it's the macrocosm, the celestial bodies. There's a frequency and an order and a song and a dance to it. It's very precise. It's impossible to exist without some sort of intelligent mind thinking it into reality.
Yeah. It's like, the pentacle, if you look at the, pentacle or pentagram, whatever, the circle on the outside represents, I believe, the masculine energy. And then the pinnacle itself on the inside with the 5 points is the feminine energy. I believe that's how it was explained.
Usually things with lines and points are more masculine and the rounded edges are more feminine.
Yeah, maybe.
Usually.
Oh, that makes sense because look at the Vitruvian Man. It's the man in the middle making the star with his, body,
right.
And then there's a circle around him.
But that also makes sense with the male and female body, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Where men have typically more broader shoulders with a narrow triangled waist, where women are more curvy.
Yeah.
It's by design. It's the same with symbology. It's the more rounded, soft shapes are feminine, like the circles and things like that. And then you have triangles and lines are more masculine.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and so also in the book, so Saunier, whatever, is Sophie's, who is the cryptologist, her grandfather. You find that out at some point through the book. I don't
like pretty much
exactly
minutes
when.
later, she pulls him. She pulls him in the bathroom. She's like, "That's my grandfather. They're after you. We need to get out of here."
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was something I wanted to say there. So we're breezing through the plot. So, okay. So we're getting to a point to where the police that were kind of like after them, trying to get him on the murder, even though he had no clue about it and he had nothing to do with it. So we're getting past the part they're gone, right?
Right.
So they're dealt with. They had a little ruse to get him out of there. So now the main characters, Robert and Sophie, they are still in the museum because they kind of like had a distraction and they got the police to leave. Remember they threw the GPS out the window and they went in the truck and they're gone. So they're alone in the museum now. So they go back to the body and they start looking at all the clues and they find that it's an anagram. Remember? What I don't remember what it said, but it was like the long con of man is dark or something like that.
And then it specifically said like Da Vinci, the Mona Lisa.
Exactly. It was an anagram for Da Vinci,
Right.
Leonardo da Vinci, Mona Lisa,
Right.
whatever the writing was.
Yeah.
And it was the Fibonacci sequence.
Mhm.
Remember? That's another big one. That's the
Big
first
one.
time I ever came into contact with that.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. So they're like, oh, shoot. He was leading us to the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
So they go to the Mona Lisa and they start explaining, or Robert starts explaining some of the like esoteric history behind Leonardo da Vinci, how he was involved with, I don't know if he comes right out and says the Priory of Sion yet, but he does at some point. So I'm just going to say he did. Either way, we'll explain that. So he says, he's explaining how there's this like esoteric symbology behind Da Vinci's art.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, look at the left side of the Mona Lisa's face. It's proportionally bigger.
Mm-hmm.
They were always in ancient times showing the left side to be bigger than the right. And then he said it was veneration of the femininity because historically the left side was considered female and the right side was considered male.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to pause there for a second. That's a really deep statement because that's also like the eyes of Horus and Ra, where the right eye is the eye of Ra. It's that active solar power. And then the left eye is the eye of Horus. It's that lunar power. Or I've been really getting into pranayama lately, which is like alternate nostril breathing. It's like Hindu Ayurvedic science, and like there's this technique called the Nadi Shodhana pranayama, which is the subtle energy channel purification breathing technique, where the idea is that the right nostril, again, the right side, is masculine solar, and the left side is feminine lunar. Right? So it's like you're stimulating the different nostrils to breathe. And there's evidence that shows that it impacts the central nervous system, right? Like when you're regulating the flow between both nostrils. Modern science shows that, I know this, I'm going to bring it back to the Mona Lisa thing, but modern science even shows that at any given point during the day, whether you're conscious of it or not, you're actually dominantly breathing heavier in one nostril, and it alternates throughout the day subconsciously.
I've noticed that though for sure.
You don't have control over it. It's just automatically, depending on your mental state, you're predominantly breathing through an alternate nostril. So the ancient Ayurvedic yogis were like, well, we can regulate that and bring it into balance by puring the energy channels and for a set amount of time consciously breathing through both to regulate that. But my point is there's so many different cultures and so many different spiritual practices throughout the world in ancient times where this unifying concept existed that the right side, the right eye of Ra, the solar breathing, the esoteric symbology and painting through the Rosicrucians and yada yada yada, masculine and feminine, yin and yang. This concept has always existed.
Yeah,
it's across every practice.
Right.
And it's mind blowing. But
yeah. So in this very like beginning portion of this story, you already are getting
they're dumping this on you.
Oh yeah. I mean, they are not making it coy. They're not hiding it. This dude is sprawled out in a Vitruvian man with a pinnacle on his chest, with cryptic symbology written beside him. He's sending them on a goose chase, all this stuff. And you still at this point have no clue why this is happening. Like, you still don't know why. You know that they're kind of figuring out some clues and pointers, but you have no idea, like, why is this happening? It's not until pretty significantly.
It's pretty far in.
It's pretty far in, yeah. So I don't remember when they mention about, like, Da Vinci being Priory of Sion or Isaac Newton or
pretty early on. So
okay.
Yeah, so as they start investigating the murder, and then they go to the Mona Lisa, and then they get the blacklight thing, they find more evidence, and then they go to another painting. I think it's like something on the rocks, Madonna
right.
on the rocks.
Yeah.
And they keep finding these clues to go to like other paintings or whatever. But eventually, after they leave the museum, the Professor Robert gets wise, and he asks Sophie, he's like, has your grandfather ever mentioned something called the Priory of Sion to you? Mm-hmm. And she's like, clueless. Like, I don't know. I haven't talked to him in 20 years.
Right.
But, come to find out when she was little, she walked in on them having some sort of sex ritual.
Right.
So it like traumatized her.
In like his basement or something like that. It wasn't
somewhere in his yard. Yeah.
Right,
I
right.
mean, not in the yard, but like in a building in the yard.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
was supposed to walk in there, and
Yeah, it traumatizes her because she's so confused and it seems like weird.
it was like some weird tantric ritual.
Right, right. Come to find out, of course, it was like harmless. They weren't actually, it wasn't anything dangerous, or it was just a celebration of the divine masculine and feminine, you know, what that sort of thing. But to her, like,
She's like 9 years old.
yeah,
or
to
something.
her
She
child
walks in on it.
eyes,
Yeah,
she's traumatized.
So she grows up and she never, never really talks to him ever again.
Yeah.
But, come to find out, he was the Grand Master.
Yeah.
He was the Grand Master of the Priory of Sion. Yeah, so that's the whole point. Just breezing through the plot. Again, it's like the whole premise here is it's like a murder mystery crime thriller where this guy Robert is just this innocent professor who's extremely high level esoteric symbologist.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of like yanked into this world trying to solve the riddle left behind from the dying Grandmaster.
Right.
So he's like following these clues, but like it's really cool because without saying like how he finds them or what necessarily happens or the betrayals or the character deaths and this, that, and the other, the clues that he does find are very dense with esoteric symbology.
Significance,
like,
yeah.
for example, the Priory of Sion, as explained in the Da Vinci Code, as it's explained, does not exist in real life.
Right.
Like
Right.
we said, Priory of Sion
very
was
different.
created in like 1956 or something like that.
Yeah.
But, just think out of the box a little bit. If you actually read the story, he comes right out, the character, and he says that Sir Isaac Newton was the leader of the Priory of Sion.
Which, very interesting. There's a lot of evidence that shows the fact that Isaac Newton, it's not like 100% confirmed, but there's more evidence is always being found. Isaac Newton and Da Vinci were both actually members of the Masons.
Rosicrucians.
Oh, sorry. Yes, that's what I meant.
That's
what I meant.
that's the point.
Rosicrucians.
Which, dude, think even further about it. What's the symbol on the cryptex?
The rose. Yeah.
So like we know that they're referencing some, and they do reference the Masons. I
Right.
have a quote
It's
about
funny.
that.
It's funny because it's almost like the book just takes Priory of Sion and kind of makes that a front for Rosicrucians.
Exactly.
Because everything they say about the Priory of Sion in the book is like
is real knowledge.
is real
about,
Rosicrucian shit.
Yes.
So
yes.
I think Dan Brown, like, is,
It's like he added a faulty chain there to give like a layer of separation.
separation. Yeah.
But it's very obvious.
He's straight up, it's Rosicrucians.
Dude, he's literally is like Sir Isaac Newton was a leader.
Yeah.
He talks about, and there's a lot of like Masonic literature in here too. I have a bookmark part I'm going to read a little bit
sweet.
later.
Yeah.
But so
I mean, essentially, you go through, you find out that the grandfather is the Grandmaster. They keep getting led to all this different stuff. They go to this bank to where the grandfather Saunier has like this special vault box.
yeah,
They go to this super
high tech like
lockdown
Swiss
exclusive
vault kind of shit.
Yeah, I think it was called the Swiss vault or something like that. Anyway, they go there, they figure out the grandpa's password, they get in,
which was the Fibonacci sequence.
It was.
which is esoteric in its own right.
super, because it's like the formula of life, right?
Yeah.
It's like how where everything it's that
It's the
spiral.
divine golden frequency. Yeah,
Right. It's that
I
spiral.
learned about that from the first time ever from this book.
Really?
Yeah,
That's so sick.
Which is funny because Dad included Fibonacci in his book.
That's amazing. Yeah. So, and then they find in the lockbox, the only thing in there was a cryptex.
Right.
Which, if you don't know what a cryptex is, it's like this. It's essentially it can take many different forms, but it's like a physical like puzzle /
It was a Da Vinci design.
invention, right?
Yeah.
And the specific one that Da Vinci designed is very similar to the one that's used in the book and movie of Da Vinci Code. It's like this like cylinder kind of thing.
It's got like papyrus wrapped up in the middle of it with like some secret message.
Yeah.
But it has a little glass vial of vinegar. So if you try to like force the codex open,
It'll break the
vial
vinegar.
will shatter and it'll destroy the document.
Yeah.
So you got to have a precise password, spinning these dials with letters on it or symbols.
Yeah.
And so like the majority of the book, they're trying to figure out what the password. I don't remember what the password is, but
I don't either. But hey, that's good because we won't spoil it for them.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
We'll leave that one a secret for them.
Yeah, so a big reveal there is when they find the codex. This is about, I don't know in terms of the book, but in the movie, it's about halfway through.
Yeah.
It's
Finding it?
decently far through.
Yeah.
And they get the codex and the symbol on it, which is a major plot reveal because there's been no mention of a rose yet at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But when Robert Langdon grabs it, he's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
You know, like his reaction.
Yeah.
It's a rose. It's a 5-petaled white rose. So check it out. A rose is also a pentacle, a symbol of female reproductive power, a longitudinal marker, a navigational symbol, and the Holy Grail itself. In Dan Brown's universe, this is what the rose represents. Mm-hmm. All of these things. Its many incarnations make it a potent symbol. A rose adorns the wooden box containing the keystone. Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man is laid out in a 5-pointed star pattern, just like the 5-petaled rose, the pinnacle, and the Venus star. In goddess cults in real human history, the rose has close associations with femininity, the 5 petals of the rose symbolizing the 5 stations of female life: birth, menstruation, motherhood, menopause, and death. The rose is also associated with the goddess Venus, like he said earlier, whose functions include love, sex, and fertility. And then in the movie, the rose line, or in the book as well, the rose line, or the 0-degree longitudinal line used for navigation, represents guidance as navigators use stars to chart their course. So I had another... Give me a sec. Okay. There's a church in Paris where this longitudinal line, it's called the Arago Meridian line. This is a real, you know, like the meridians...
Yeah.
You know, the lines running across the planet or whatever. Yeah. There's one that runs through Paris that's like extremely significant to the whole longitude and latitude system. It's like one of the original calculations of this that was made by someone named Arago in the 1700s. There's like 135 different markers in the city of Paris. You can see them on the street. And it's like little gold plaques that'll say like Arago line. Like you're crossing the line where the intersection of time zones and everything that's measured is separated right here on this spot. It's, you know what I'm saying? Like it's so important to them that there's markers all over the city of Paris. But in the book and in the movie, they don't call them the Arago Meridian line. They call them the Rose line. Yes. Yeah. And they have like this esoteric spin on it that it's like this basically. So the character, remember Silas? The killer, the albino monk.
The Opus Dei monk.
Exactly. We haven't even talked about him. There's a nun in that church, and she's telling him, I ripped a quote from the movie. She said, "A rose line is any line that goes from the north to south poles. Set into the streets of Paris, 135 brass markers," and this is true, I looked it up. 135 brass markers mark the world's very first prime meridian, which passes through this very church. Again, it was calculated in the 17th century, developed by an astronomer named Francois Arago in the 19th century. So it's just crazy. Like there's a lot of esoteric literature and symbology in Paris that the movie covers. You know, like the formation of Freemasonry, the Louvre, and we haven't even talked about that yet. But there's You know,
the 2 pyramid thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rosslyn Chapel, which I do think that was in Scotland, but you know, Freemasons were founded in France.
I did not.
Yep.
I didn't.
There's the French Freemasons who brought us the Statue of Liberty.
Wow, dude. And I wonder when, because part of my research during this was trying to find any proof or evidence that would suggest when the Knights Templar became the Freemasons.
I'm not exactly sure.
Right.
When the Freemasons started. Let me look it up.
Yeah, I was trying to look it up and find it, and I mean, there's a lot of compelling evidence that, you know, there are eyewitness here. Actually, I think I wrote it down. There's all kinds of eyewitness accounts.
Actually, I might be wrong. Freemasonry might not have started in France.
Where?
They're saying that it could have just generally emerged out of stonemasonry guilds in the Middle Ages, like not necessarily from a particular country. Some people say England. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm seeing organized in 1717 in England.
So then
so it'd be hundreds of years after the Templars died.
Right. So then the attack that happened on Friday the 13th, what I mean, what city did that attack? Was that out of the Vatican?
I'm not sure where. I mean, I know it happened in France, but I don't.
Right, because so here's the thing: there are many eyewitness accounts from that time, from right around that date, even as close to that date as the very week that attack happened, of people in Scotland specifically. That's where the most eyewitness accounts come from, seeing Templar ships like seeking refuge and landing in Scotland.
Wow.
There are many eyewitness accounts of that.
Now I'm confused because I feel like I've heard that Freemasonry started in Scotland. And what do I know, right? I'm not a Mason.
Sure, right.
But it is significant in France. It's significant in France. It's significant in Scotland. You have Scottish Rite Freemasonry.
Yeah.
You have...
which also, it's like, think about the whole involvement of the Grail. Like, a lot of those legends come from...
Let's get into that, because we haven't... That's the most important part of the book, and we haven't even mentioned it.
So you find out through the two main characters searching, that the true mystery that they're trying to unveil, the true mystery that the Priory of Sion was after, and Opus Dei is after, and the Knights Templar were after, and all these players, it's about the Holy Grail. But in this story, which, by the way, is based on many real publications where this was theorized, I have them written down, many real publications, that the Holy Grail was actually Mary Magdalene and her location, the location of her tomb.
Well, more so her bloodline.
That's what I mean, right?
Her children.
But
her descendants.
But if you find the body, then you can prove the lineage.
But this, but this is a real. This is not just like made up by this book. Like, this is a real esoteric belief, and it goes so far as to call it the Merovingian bloodline.
Exactly. I wrote about the Merovingians. So let's see.
You remember in it was either The Matrix 2 or 3. There was a character, the Merovingian. Do you remember?
Wait. Oh yeah. Oh my God. Okay.
I think it was Matrix 3. I can't remember.
So let's see. Yeah, part of the legend cites the Merovingian dynasty, which ruled France from the 5th to the 8th century, and which was descended from Jesus Christ and his wife Mary Magdalene. It was passed down through a secret bloodline called the Sangreal, which is mentioned plenty in the book.
Which translates to royal bloodline or something like that?
Yeah. Merovingian kings were also known as holy kings and were considered invested with divine authority, as they supposedly had the holy blood of Jesus Christ in their veins. This story originated in the 12th century book Percival or the Tale of the Grail. That's the full title, Percival or the Tale of the Grail.
They also make reference, I'm sorry to cut you
you're
off,
fine.
But they also make very subtle reference, at least in the movie. Again, it has been a while since I've read the book, but they make very subtle reference in passing of the King Arthur Grail myth.
Yes.
But instead of being, check this, at one point in the movie, Robert says, when they're talking to the Ian McKellen character, remember?
Yes.
The older guy, Teebing.
It's
Lee Teebing or something.
Teebing, yeah.
The professor, right?
Teebing.
He's like the fanatical expert of the secret society or whatever.
Right. The Scion.
Yep. Yeah. Priory of Scion. They're talking to him, and this girl Sophie, keep in mind, to the audience listening, she has no clue of this esoteric shit because she hated it, because she walked in on her grandpa conducting a
sex ritual.
A ritual, yeah.
She's traumatized.
Like literally like a ritual sex magic thing.
Yeah. When
she was a little girl, so she ran away. She never came back. So she didn't want anything to do with any of it. And she's typical, traumatized, I hate history. I don't care about any of this. Just get to the point, whatever. So there's a lot of dialogue where they're kind of they're teaching the viewer or the reader by teaching Sophie.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of this dialogue being expounded to Sophie. So there's one point where they're explaining to her what the most ancient icons for God are, or for male and female, and it's known as the blade, the upward, keep in mind, the blade,
right,
the upward pointed triangle, and then the chalice, the grail, which is the downward pointed triangle, which is the womb, and you have the upward pointed one. What's that, the obelisk, the sword of Arthur in the stone, right? The hammer of Thor, or the hammer of Freemasonry, is this phallic, masculine, powerful object. But then you have the womb, or the grail, the chalice. It contains the holy blood of life, or children, or whatever.
It's like this. And
exactly.
It's also
but what do you get when
above,
you
so below?
But also, what if you merge them? What symbol do you get? A 6-pointed star.
Oh, like this. Yes.
Yeah. You take the upward pointing triangle and the downward pointing triangle and you merge them, you get the 6-pointed star.
Yeah.
Which is,
And the cool thing is, in the book, while you're reading it, they're explaining all of this, and then they'll actually put in like little pictures of it, like of the two triangles like overlapping and becoming the 6-pointed star.
I just saw it when I flipped through
Really?
the book. Yeah, I literally just saw it, bro.
That was one of the coolest parts for me because it's like, yeah, there it is, right there.
Right here.
I
know they can't see it.
That was a mind-blowing moment.
This thing is like showing you symbols throughout this book. It's really cool.
Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah.
So that whole previous paragraph before it is talking about, is basically exactly what Ryan was just saying. How the upward triangle is masculine, the bottom one, the lower facing one is feminine, and then it just shows you the symbol, and you're like, oh.
Do you know who else told me that in person?
Who?
Tim Taylor.
Really?
From the Department of Defense. Yeah. That was when I first realized that the people in the CIA and in these high-level intelligence societies. Ooh, dude, I just opened up to a heavy-hitting passage.
What?
Hold that thought.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, so Tim Taylor, he came around 2013. He started talking to us. He had a shirt that had an Ouroboros on it. He started talking to me. Dude, I was like 20. He started talking to me about like sacred geometry, upward triangle, downward triangle being masculine and feminine, merging them together. It's like God and the forces of life. I mean, anyway, check this out. I just opened to a random passage. These two pillars are the most duplicated architectural structures in history. Replicas exist all over the world. They're at the Rosslyn Chapel, which is a real place. I think it's in Scotland. Replicas of Rosslyn? She looks skeptical. No, of the pillars. Do you remember earlier that I mentioned Rosslyn itself is a copy of Solomon's temple? Those two pillars are exact replicas of the two pillars that stood at the head of Solomon's temple. Langdon pointed to the pillar on the left. That's called Boaz, or the mason's pillar. The other is called Jachin, or the apprentice pillar. He paused. In fact, virtually every Masonic temple in the world has two pillars like these. Fun fact, the catacombs in France, they're painted on the doorways, Boaz and Jachin.
Oh, right. I remember.
I have
you
pictures.
Yeah. That's so crazy.
So, and then it said Langdon has already explained to her about the Templars' powerful historic ties to the modern Masonic secret societies, whose primary degrees, apprentice Freemason, fellowcraft Freemason, and Master Mason, harked back to early Templar days. Sophie's grandfather's final verse made direct reference to the Master Masons who adorned Roslyn with their carved artistic offerings. It also noted Roslyn's central ceiling, which was covered with carvings of stars and planets. Check this out. When they get to Rosslyn Chapel, often called and this is a real place too. That's what's so good about this book is it's like it's got all this material, but it's like based on all real stuff.
Yeah, and I would say like a large portion of it is untainted, like real, true history. But they obviously flare some stuff.
It's dramatized, yeah. So Rosslyn Chapel, often called the Cathedral of Codes, stands 7 miles south of Edinburgh, Scotland, on the site of an ancient Mithraic temple. Built by the Knights Templar in 1446, the chapel is engraved with the mind-boggling arrays of symbols from the Jewish, Christian, Egyptian, Masonic, and pagan traditions. The chapel's geographic coordinates fall precisely on the north-south meridian that runs through Glastonbury. The longitudinal rose line is the traditional marker of King Arthur's Isle of Avalon and is considered the central pillar of Britain's sacred geometry. It is from this hallowed rose line that Rosslyn, originally spelled Roslyn, it's just a different spelling, takes its name. Roslyn's rugged spires were casting long evening shadows as Robert Langdon and Sophie Neveu, these are the characters of the book, pulled their rental car into the grassy parking area at the foot of the bluff. I believe they were like led here for the final piece of the mystery because it was like Isaac Newton's gravesite or something. Something special about Isaac Newton.
Right. That he was was it Isaac Newton's that they were trying to get to, or was it
because
Alexander
they're looking for the
Pope?
apple. I think it's
Pope.
I think it's a pope.
Oh, what it is they were looking for Sir Isaac Newton, but what they didn't realize is he was buried by Alexander Pope.
Right, because the riddle said a pope.
Yeah, buried by a pope.
But it was a pope. It was Alexander Pope, right?
Right, Alexander
So
Pope.
then they get there and they find the Apple of Eden and they're looking at the gravesite of Isaac Newton and it has all this esoteric symbology. Heavy emphasis on it being orbs.
Oh, yeah.
Orbs of the celestial spheres of, the stars and the moon and the planets and stuff. But
yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to read that chapel because it's like, or that chapter. Yeah. my brain is like, it's going faster now.
Yeah.
Because there's so much material here that's like, again, it's real world esoteric literature. It's very mind blowing. Like, I love the King Arthur shit.
I do too. I got some stuff about that too, because it's unfolded that like they're trying to find the Holy Grail, and then it's also later it's then unfolded that what that means is that this is pointing them to the information of the lineage of Jesus Christ. This is suggesting that Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene were actually in fact married, and they had children, and that bloodline exists to this day, and that's what they like kind of discover in the book. But that's actually heavily, widely theorized in other sort of thought, like originally, traditionally, the like kind of vanilla belief of the Holy Grail is just like, oh, it's the cup that Jesus drank from at the Last Supper.
Right.
That was it. But then also there's in a book called Merlin that was written in like the 1400s or even before that, Arimathea, is that it? Or is it Arimathea?
I'm not sure.
Is in charge of guarding and protecting the Holy Grail. For those who are already familiar with Avalon, which is the place where King Arthur is apparently buried. It's all legend, but apparently it's true. Other speculations say that Arthur himself was a direct descendant of Christ and was tutored by Arimathea, who was actually Merlin. The book is called Merlin, but it's theorized that the author was actually Merlin himself, who is using a pseudonym, like a different name, Arimathea. So there's other speculations that Arthur is the bloodline of Christ, even giving rise to the legend of the Sangreal, royal blood, which is an alternative to the theory of the chalice object. So even in King Arthur lore and legend, there are certain authors who write about King Arthur and say that was the point of the Holy Grail. It was actually a symbol. And then there's one more example written by, so according to the legend of Wolfram von Eschenbach, the Grail stone was made of a substance called lapis exilis, or exile stone, which supposedly fell from the sky in the form of a meteorite. This stone was the Grail's source of power and life, and only those
What was it called?
The exile stone, lapis exilis.
Okay.
Why?
Because I've also heard it said that stone was moldavite.
Well, check this out.
It fell from space.
Check this out. This stone was the Grail's source of power and life, and only those who were pure in heart and virtuous could approach it and use its powers, which is almost identical to another famous stone. It's a story from like Asia. It's called the Chintamani. Yes.
The wishing stone.
The Chintamani stone, which is also like the Emerald of Lucifer. It's like this exact story of this powerful stone coming down from the sky. Stone. Yeah, it's being repeated over and over and over, and you can kind of surmise that they're all talking about the same thing.
It's the same as like the Philosopher's Stone. It's there may not be a stone. Yeah. It's like an esoteric metaphor about reaching enlightenment.
So I don't know if you
reaching knowledge.
I don't know if you knew this, but there's this like acronym that initiates and alchemists and like seekers use to sort of try and gauge if one of these legends is like legit or not. And it's this acronym called vitriol. Do you know about this?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So it's
blowing my mind because that's in the movie As Above, So Below.
It is?
Yes.
So vitriol is a Latin acronym that stands for the phrase visita interiora terrae rectificando invenis occultum lapidum. I know I butchered that, but which in Latin translates to visit the interior of the earth, and rectifying you will find the hidden stone.
No shit.
Yeah, that's what it means.
Bro, that's in the movie
occultum,
As Above, So Below.
Like occultum means hidden, lapidum means stone. That's exactly what it means. Visit the interior of the earth, and rectifying, which is just like purifying,
right,
you will find the hidden stone.
But I also feel like that means like know thyself, like it's like what Socrates said, know thyself. Like,
right.
meditation, the death of the ego to reach enlightenment.
Yeah.
Because like at the bottom of the rabbit hole of all this esoteric literature, the point of all of it is reaching an awakened state of consciousness.
Right.
You know, it's through just complete purification of the ego. So I feel like, you know, if you're visiting the interior of the earth, it's as above, so below. That's you. That's your infinite inner state.
Yeah, it's like, you know, by delving deep into the earth,
deeper into yourself.
That's how you know yourself.
Know thyself.
Right, exactly.
Which is also in As Above, So Below.
The know thyself thing?
Yeah.
That's
pretty
sick.
Sure.
So you can there's kind of like multiple interpretations of what exactly the Grail like was. It's just this story focuses on like it being an allegory or like it being the bloodline of Christ.
I feel like that's I feel like that's what the legend actually is.
You think so?
But is it true? You know what I mean? Like I have a hard time thinking, oh, well, maybe it is just a cup. Well, no, I mean,
well, so the reason that
doesn't make sense.
The reason that like at least like the basic vanilla reason that like they think, oh, all these people are looking for the Holy Grail is because, you know, it also held Jesus's blood in it.
Right.
You know,
right.
When they sacrificed him, they filled his Grail up with his blood, like, which was, you know, whatever. And so they think that
as the story goes, they stabbed him, but he bled water.
Right.
In the Bible.
And then they filled it up, the cup. And so that's like the basic understanding of it. So people think that because it held his blood in the chalice, it like gave the chalice special powers or whatever. But take just a tiny little bit of like a symbolic understanding of that. What does that mean? The blood is power. The blood is power. The bloodline is power.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like just get a little symbolic with it, and it's not that far of a leap. And then, you know, really other than those two kind of like schools of thought, the only other thing that people think the Grail could really truly represent is just like the Philosopher's Stone, like the same thing as the Philosopher's Stone. You get it and you just, you know, you have the power to manifest whatever you want.
Yeah, it's like not, it's the idea is that there isn't a physical object, but in reality it's you reaching enlightenment.
Right, exactly.
It's the key to enlightenment.
And then so another piece of this like puzzle that the book heavily implies, but that you have to dig a little bit to find examples of in real history, is the Knights Templars' involvement with the Grail.
So check this out. I got a quote from two of the characters, Robert and Sophie, when they're having a conversation.
Uh-huh.
So it's like Robert said, any story of the Priory, which again, we're going to assume that he's really referencing Freemasons or Rosicrucians because their histories are tied. You know, it's very it's similar bodies of knowledge.
Yeah.
But he said, any story of the Priory soon ended in bloodshed. They were butchered by the church. It all started 1,000 years ago when the French king conquered the holy city of Jerusalem. It was all orchestrated by a secret brotherhood, the Priory of Sion, and their military arm, the Knights Templar. Then Sophie says, but the Templars were created to protect the Holy Land, I thought. And Robert says, well, that was a cover to hide their true goal, according to this myth. Supposedly, the invasion was to find an artifact lost since the time of Christ. An artifact it was said the church would kill to possess. Then the story, like the Da Vinci Code book, movie, whatever, it actually expounds on the real history of Friday the 13th, how the Pope and the King of France had this covert operation to just like assassinate all the Templars all at once, and it does the whole Friday the 13th thing, burn at the stake, yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. So...
yeah.
Very cool how it connects the Templars there.
Yeah, it is really cool how it's done in the book. And if you do a little bit of digging into history, like the history of the Templars and that brutal attack on Friday the 13th, you'll find that many knights were being, you know, they were torturing them. They were interrogating them. Like, it was really, really awful. But they were trying to get information out of them and the torture information out of them. And many of them in that torture divulged the same bit of information, which is that they held Grail rituals. They held like significant magical rituals where the centerpiece was like a symbol of the Grail. It obviously wasn't the Grail, but they're like low key, like almost like worshiping the Grail.
They absolutely were mystical. Like,
oh, for sure.
So the official version, again, I'm not saying this is the true version. I'm saying it's the official version of history. Why, like, the French king and the Pope wanted to kill the Templars was they were claiming that they were worshiping the devil. They were worshiping Baphomet.
Right.
They were claiming that they were killing people, drinking blood out of skulls, scrying into the blood on the skulls, and having just these strange satanic rituals and stuff. And there were some Templars under the duress of torture who admitted to that. But then it's like, well, they're being tortured.
Right.
So it's like, you know,
were you doing Grail rituals?
Are you just trying to get out of torture?
Right.
No, not even Grail rituals. Some of them said, yes, we really do that stuff.
Right.
Yes, we really worship the devil. So it's like, is it
right.
true? They're being tortured.
Right.
You know, because
you never know.
You know, all these other ones are saying this stuff. So it's like, we really don't know.
Yeah.
Unless we're a part of some society that's held their information. See, like, unless we join the modern Freemasons or Templar, we'll never really know what they did.
Yeah.
You know, but
so is there any of these societies out there that is known to be like intimately tied to the legend of the Holy Grail? Like, are there any of them? Because I mean, I found like a little bit of stuff on the real Priory of Sion.
Do you remember when, for a brief time, I studied with a Rosicrucian named Dr. Robert Gilbert? Like, brief time. I took a few courses with him.
Right.
He had a course called Grail Traditions and Mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
I never took that one, but I can't remember the one that I did took. I think it was just like spirit science, just like a general idea of
ironic.
The occult. Yeah, I know. That's where I learned it from. Was from him.
Science.
Spiritual science. Yeah,
that's sick.
Occult science. I think Rudolf Steiner has a book called Occult Science, but that's where I got the name for spirit science. But
that's dope.
Yeah, no, that is something that the Rosicrucians and the Freemasons do talk about. I mean, again, it's like I'm not a part of these orders, so I can't know everything they say. Although I am kind of inclined to start getting more involved with Rosicrucianism to try to like see what their material is about.
I kind of feel that inclination too.
Because it's not like Freemasons where you got to go to a lodge, drink beer with your homies on Friday night, and learn all these secrets. And I forgot my recital today. I didn't memorize my little Latin quotes or whatever. Rosicrucian's not like that. It's more chill. You just learn.
Yeah,
it's all online. You don't even have to meet anybody in person. My fear up front was like, if I was to get involved in any of these kind of orders, would this be the kind of information that I couldn't share with people? Because clearly my only reason for ever learning this kind of knowledge would be to share with people. I want to share with people. And I was like, well, what's the point in getting further with something if I can't even talk about it? That's just really stupid.
Yeah.
It's really stupid. Why would I do that?
Right. Yeah, it would be honestly it would make more sense just to do the research on your own.
That's why I've been doing it that way.
Yeah, and make no pacts or promises with anybody that you're not going to tell anybody. Because if you find the information yourself, like you don't owe nobody nothing.
And for anybody out there that's like in their head, they're like, well, I'm a part of the order, and well, I've seen beings my whole life, so I understand the burden of having some crazy experience that you want to share with people that people aren't ready to listen.
Right.
Or them, somebody in high level Freemasonry or some other ritual or magical order, they might say, well, people don't understand it, so we're keeping it secret because they're not ready for this and that. And that, I mean, that's fine. I don't see it that way.
Right.
I see that the truth should be freely shared all the time, 100% of the time, whether they're ready or not, and that's your burden. So that's me. That's why I never got involved with any sort of order. But I'm kind of thinking, man, I might dive into Rosicrucian stuff.
Like, do your own research on it,
bro? No. It's $15 a month. You sign up online. They give you documents electronically. You just read them. You don't even have to go to a lodge.
Agreement. There's no agreement, like, not to talk about it.
As far as I know, yeah. You just study the material.
I would love to read stuff like that. I mean, the Rosicrucians are probably the one like initiate order that I'm most like intrigued in.
I know we said we're not going to really do comments.
Okay.
But this one I thought was so like, come on, bro. Like, really?
Oh God.
Listen,
we got a
comment on YouTube. Man.
Oh, okay. Let's do it.
I don't know if I've ever done this.
Put it on blast.
Let me find it. I might have already passed it. Oh, listen, you ready? I can't believe I'm even highlighting this. It says, we did the Wisdom Traditions episode 1, the Essenes. It says, I don't want to throw shade, but this comment This is what I deal with. This
Yeah.
is exactly why I'm like, I don't even need to defend myself here, you know? But it's like, why do people who are not members of the Rosicrucian order always speculate as to what we are and what we do? Don't sit on the fence. Join the organization and find out for yourself instead of reading books from people who never even have been members of the order and think they are experts on the teachings, when in actual fact they know nothing except for their own self-importance.
There's a lot of like arrogance packed into that comment.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't want to know who said it, obviously, or whatever. But like, listen, if you're genuinely trying to get people interested in the organization you're a part of, or like invite them to learn these mysteries for themselves, that's not really the attitude to have. You know what I mean? That kind of would turn people off, I would think.
Yeah, it's like, fuck me for like being really interested in something, but like hesitant about fully getting involved because like I'm a public figure and I believe I have a responsibility to be able to freely share knowledge with people.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't know.
That's fence sitter.
Yeah. what's his name? Ononoki? Onoki? The dude from Naruto, the fence sitter.
Oh,
the old man.
Oh yeah.
Onoki, right?
What a deep cut, bro. Yeah, I think it's Onoki.
It's the only fence sitter I've ever heard of.
That is a deep cut, my guy.
But yeah, it's like that. This is what I deal with, man. It's like
damn. Let me be curious, bro. Let me just be curious.
As opposed to if I did go and take some sort of oath and then I couldn't spill the information, it's like, wow, fuck you, dude.
Yeah,
you're not a person of the people.
Yeah, you're always gonna piss somebody off.
Always.
That's just the nature of the thing, man. You're always gonna piss somebody off. Like
it's like I can't win, but no, I have been thinking about getting more involved with the Rosicrucian stuff, dude. It's just like it's so interesting and like
it really is so fascinating.
Full disclosure, like I did join for like 2 months last year. It's $15 a month, and you get monographs sent to you in electronically. And one thing that really turned me off was some of the very first I think they're called monographs. They're written by Aleister Crowley.
Oh.
So I'm like, yeah, that's bullshit. Like I'm not really interested in that. But also like when you read what they're saying, it's like it's not bad. It's not bad stuff. And we have to remember that he was a part of different ritualistic orders. So it's like, I don't know, man. It's like, I don't want to have to sit here and try to like justify the shit I'm reading. Just like I want to.
Well, yeah, just let go. Let go of all judgment and justification and all of that, and just view it as nothing more than an observer, a witness. You view the content as nothing. Don't associate any of your personal feelings to, what you're reading, what it is, whatever. Just absorb the information, and then you'll form your own opinion later. Who cares if Aleister Crowley wrote about those things in the beginning? He's a fucking weirdo, sure, but he'd be spitting sometimes.
Well, I was saying more along the lines of like how stupid of them to include that material.
Sure.
To invoke that reaction in people.
But maybe it was intentional.
Maybe.
Maybe it's to show that
there is a belief. It's like, how could we know this? There is a belief that a lot of that public-facing material about Aleister Crowley was intentional to shock people, to try to prevent from engaging in the material. But see, me, I'm just like, shame on you. Mm-hmm. Like, your intentions are wrong and you've lost me.
Yeah. But I mean, who knows? It could have been for a different intention. We truly don't know. Maybe they were thinking like, we need to show both sides of this coin and show that the truth doesn't pick a side. It is simply the truth, and you pick the side for yourself.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something like that. You never know.
It's also, it's like, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater too. It's like, again, it's like if Aleister Crowley, as depraved of an individual he may have been, that doesn't mean that he didn't have the capacity to report on material.
Yeah.
It's like just because, I don't like the color brown doesn't mean I can't paint with it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or just because, I don't know. It's like just not everything that somebody says is wrong. Just it's logic. It's just
because it's them saying it.
Exactly.
Right.
Like it's logic. And when you read the monographs that I think it's like Liber 777 and Liber 888, it's not bad material. I'm just like, well, really, we're gonna come right out the gate reading Aleister Crowley? Like that's not exciting to me.
Yeah. Yeah, but when you go from like exoteric, like religion, normal, whatever, to like this kind of deep occult stuff, it can feel very like gray area sometimes where you're like, is this bad?
Yeah,
is
exactly.
This
Do I need to justify this?
So maybe, it could be something like that, like them just showing you up front, like here's Alex. I almost said Aleister Crowley. Here's Aleister Crowley, like saying some shit that actually makes sense, even though you know of him as a depraved person. So like
some of the shit he said made sense.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Right.
That's really the problem with it.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, interesting stuff. Did you finish up on what you wanted to cover on the Da Vinci Code?
I think so for the most part. Let me just take one.
Are we satisfied?
Are we?
We went on a wild tangent.
Are we satisfied?
I think that's the first time we ever rolled out comments.
I think it might be,
and it wasn't a good one.
Yeah.
And I listen. I don't want to. I really don't want to be like negative. I appreciate you guys watching and listening,
absolutely,
and commenting. Understand that we do see the rude comments.
We do.
We don't usually respond, but we see them. Just it's like
chill.
It's like again, it's like you have your one opportunity to interact with the people that you listen to their content. Maybe use honey instead of poison. You attract flies with honey, not vinegar. But anyway, thank you for commenting and engaging.
Yeah, yes.
Common sense. Be nice.
Yeah, I made it through all of my notes. I mean, the biggest themes in this book, it's like about these organizations. It's about the Grail. It's about the bloodline of Christ.
Oh, there is one concept we didn't actually.
What's that?
We went on a tangent for a while, and I do feel like I wanted to talk about this. So the whole controversy of the book. We just glossed over this, but didn't make a point about it.
Right.
The reason this book is so controversial in the first place is because why? Well, dude, it's suggesting the notion that Jesus was
a father.
Well, yeah, like not an immortal divine being.
Oh, right. Yes.
It's suggesting the notion that he was a person like us.
Right.
Which
every other bit of information in the world about him, except for the Bible, says.
Exactly.
All of it.
Yeah, like the Gnostic texts.
Nag Hammadi scrolls.
Yeah, all the
of it.
Psychic materials. Yeah, Nag Hammadi scrolls.
The Quran. All of it.
That he was like he
was a prophet.
He was like a sage or like a prophet or like a spiritual master. He was like a master of an order, not just an initiate, but a master.
Yes.
And he had achieved enlightenment, and he was waking people up. And I do believe that.
I do too.
Do I 100% know that he had children? No, I don't know that.
Sure, of course not. But I believe that every other text about him in the world, other than the Bible, says that he was a man. He wasn't divine. He wasn't a god incarnate. He was a sage, a prophet, a dope dude, a fucking jack man with fucking natty lights.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what we know about him.
If he's jacked and got some natty lights, I'm sure he's got some kids out there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Is that the first time you spoke the whole?
I think
episode.
I think so. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, he might.
He gets excited as soon as he hears natty lights.
Well, and Jack ripped Jesus.
That's hilarious. That's the first time he spoke the whole episode.
That's all it takes.
You got me.
That's all it takes to engage him.
Full attention now.
That's all it takes. At the end of the episode, we have his full attention.
But this
I might have to read this book.
It's really good, dude.
It's amazing.
You really should. And it's a very fast read. But dude, it's like
the easiest book I've ever read.
Honestly,
easiest because it's just like
it's addicting. Yeah, you don't want to put it down, and the material will stimulate your brain. It teaches you a lot of stuff, dude. Mm-hmm. It taught me a lot. But yeah, I mean, like this was heretical. It was extremely controversial when it came out because it was suggesting the idea that Jesus may have been born just like us, and that it goes all into the Nicene Creed and Constantine and how they changed his birthday to be like the pagan sun god of Rome, and all this real history about how they convened Romans. This is all in the story. They're like educating you, like, no, they just decided hundreds of years later he's divine.
Yeah, the Emperor of Constantine decided.
It's facts.
Yeah, well, we'll make him divine, and his birthday's freaking.
And then we're gonna kill people to uphold this image so that we have absolute power.
Yep.
Because we act on the authority, the Vatican, we're the most powerful representation of God.
Yeah.
So then you have this whole subplot. We barely talked about this, but the whole villains here that are chasing him down is like this cult within Catholicism who's trying to murder the bloodline of Christ and murder anybody who's aware of the mystery because they don't want people to learn the truth.
Right.
They want to keep people in ignorance to be like spiritual slaves, basically. Like they want to keep the world suppressed from this Holy Grail.
Yeah, they want Catholicism to continue to reign.
Yeah, so you
supreme.
have like both secret societies. You have the Catholic secret society where they're literally like 9mm, like capping people in the head over Christ.
Yeah, and then you have Priory of Sion, who's trying to protect the bloodline of Christ.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really, really gripping stuff.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's deep,
and it makes you wonder how much of it is real.
Honestly, that's the problem with this book. That's what I was going to say. Is like you read this, and I remember reading this at 18 years old. I was still Pentecostal.
Yeah,
and I remember reading this and being like, I kind of have a hard time not believing this.
I do too. When I finished it, I was like, this is nonfiction. But then, after a while, I was like, maybe
it was
not.
shortly after that I found out about Freemasonry and even like the Illuminati and began my journey like studying esoteric stuff. I mean, ironically, I only read this a few months after Dad experienced the lady for the first time.
Wow.
Which is funny when you think about it because, you think about it out of the box. This entire book, other than the Bloodline of Christ bit, do you remember what his book is called in the book? The character is an author in the book. It's like Symbols of the Goddess.
Oh yeah, Symbols of the Divine Feminine.
Yeah,
it's something like that.
The whole point of this is the great mystery. Like, why was Mary Magdalene so special? She's divine. She was like, Jesus was the male avatar of God, and she was like the feminine. She was like the his equal, his counterpart.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's crazy, man. The whole premise of this is the divine feminine, the mother, the Grail is the woman, and then they believed that her child, the heir, was a woman. It's like it's crazy, man. It's all about the goddess, and like it's kind of like what my whole life is about.
Yeah, and it's funny. That's funny that you started reading it like right after the.
I know that for a fact because I read this towards the end of my second semester. It was springtime, second semester of freshman year of college, which that's the year, springtime, Easter, freshman year of college, Dad saw the lady. So I read this within weeks of Dad seeing the lady, which is ironic. And at the time, I didn't understand the significance.
That's wild.
But crazy.
Damn.
That's all I got, boys.
That's it, y'all. Thanks for tuning in for another one. We love y'all. And, you know what I'm saying? Read that book. It's pretty good.
Super good.
Yeah.
Movie's good, too. Don't listen to the haters.
For sure. I really
it's an enjoyable movie.
Yeah, like if I wanted somebody to experience this story and they weren't really a reader, I'd be like, just watch the movie. You'll get it.
It gives you a lot of the deep information.
Yeah, you'll get it. Yeah. So, check it out. Love y'all.
Bye, guys. Bye. Or the blade.
And I'm the chalice.
Dude, it's like King Arthur's sword and the Grail.
Yeah.
The blade and the chalice.
Exactly.
Crazy.
It's cray-cray. All right. Peace.
Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more, check out our other videos.
And before you go, don't forget to subscribe. See you next week. Peace.